Welcome to the Coffee English podcast, everyone. We are so incredibly happy to have you here today.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for tuning in. And just a quick note right at the top for anyone new here, this podcast is mainly designed for English learners who are, right around that B1 to B2 level.
Right, but honestly, anyone can listen and enjoy it. The concepts we discuss today are totally universal.
Oh, 100%. The language is accessible, but the ideas are deep.
Exactly. So today we are taking a deep dive into some fascinating source material about a topic that affects literally everyone. We are unpacking the true anatomy of confidence.
It's such a great text we're analyzing today, too. It really breaks down the psychological and the social layers of what it actually means to be a truly confident person.
It really does. And I want to start by asking you, the listener, to do a quick exercise. Picture a confident person in your mind right now.
Just whatever pops in your head first.
Yeah. Your brain probably cues up a scene straight out of a Hollywood movie, right? You visualize someone walking into a crowded room, they're wearing a sharp suit, they're speaking loudly, and they're just completely dominating the conversation.
The classic alpha stereotype.
Right. They never sweat, they never stumble over their words, they operate with absolute zero fear.
But our mission for this deep dive is to show you that the source material completely shatters this stereotype.
It really tears it down because when you actually look at the behavioral science and the psychology in the text, that entire Hollywood image falls apart.
It's an illusion. In fact, that loud, dominating person you were picturing is often compensating for deep insecurity.
Exactly. Real confidence looks nothing like what society has conditioned us to expect. So to understand what it actually is, we first have to shred away the idea that confidence means being flawless or fearless.
So if it's not about being fearless, what are we actually talking about?
Well, the source defines confidence very simply. It's just feeling comfortable with yourself. That's it.
Feeling comfortable with yourself. I love that. Right. It's not about being perfect. It explicitly notes that confident people still feel nervous, they feel afraid, and they feel uncertain.
I really want to stop on that phrase, not the absence of fear, because that feels completely backward to everything we're taught, you know?
Oh, completely. It challenges the whole narrative.
Like, let me play devil's advocate. If someone is visibly shaking before giving a presentation at work, their voice is trembling, they're sweating, society usually points at them and says, well, that is a nervous, insecure person.
Right. We absolutely do that.
We certainly do not call them confident.
No, we don't. But we make that judgment because human beings are highly visual creatures. We judge the external biological symptom, right? The shaking hands, the sweating.
Instead of looking at what's actually happening inside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We ignore the internal psychological choice. Let's look at the actual mechanism the source describes here. When you stand up to give a public speech, your brain perceives a risk.
It thinks you're in physical danger.
Yes. It activates the sympathetic nervous system. It floods your body with adrenaline and stress chemicals to prepare you to fight or run away.
So that shaking is literally just a biological reaction.
Yes, you cannot control it. It's plumbing and chemicals. The fear is just biology. But the confidence, and this is key, the confidence is the decision to walk onto the stage anyway.
Oh, wow. So the choice is the confidence, not the body's reaction.
Exactly. The text points out that true fearlessness is actually quite dangerous. If you have absolutely no fear in a high-stakes situation, it usually means you just lack awareness.
You just don't understand the risks.
Right. True confidence is the mechanism of accepting that the doubt exists. You feel the fear clearly, your hands are shaking, but you choose to move forward and speak into the microphone anyway.
So confidence isn't the magical disappearance of stage fright. It's looking at the stage fright, acknowledging it sitting right there next to you, and saying, I am scared, but I'm going to do this regardless.
Spot on. It's all about your relationship to your own negative emotions. People who lack confidence spend a massive amount of psychological energy trying to fight or hide their fear.
Which just makes it worse, usually.
Oh, always. Confident people just accept it. They say, yes, I am nervous, this is normal. And that acceptance explains why real confidence is often incredibly quiet.
It doesn't need to announce itself.
Exactly.
But okay, if true confidence is internal and it's quiet and comfortable, it brings up a massive contradiction. Why does the modern world feel so obsessed with proving confidence loudly?
That is the million-dollar question. And the source material points directly to the impact of the digital age.
Social media.
Yes. We are living in an era of unprecedented validation seeking. These platforms cause people to completely confuse confidence with showing off.
It's all of performance.
It's a daily performance rather than a state of being. People only post their absolute best moments, the luxury travel, the brand new cars, the massive business wins, marriages.
It creates this wild illusion of constant, unending success. You open an app, and you're just hit with a tidal wave of highlight reels.
And let's break down the psychology of validation seeking that the author talks about, because there is a crucial observation in the text. Insecure people actually try much harder to appear confident.
Wait, really? Because I would have assumed the person posting 10 selfies a day from a yacht is the most secure person on Earth.
Right, it looks that way. But the loudness is actually the warning sign. Because if I possess internal comfort, my safety comes from within. I don't need 1,000 strangers to click a like button to tell me I have value.
So the posting is basically hunting for proof of their own worth.
Exactly. If my internal cup is empty, I have to rely entirely on external validation to feel safe in the world. Social media turns confidence into a commodity that you have to purchase every single day through performance.
That sounds incredibly exhausting.
It is a fragile, exhausting way to live.
And it also ruins the baseline of reality for the people watching it. The text brings up this concept that I want to call the normal Tuesday problem.
No, I love this part. Describe the normal Tuesday concept for the listeners.
Well, imagine it's just a regular Tuesday. You wake up, you make a decent cup of coffee, you do your job, maybe you read a book, and you go to sleep. Historically, that is a perfectly fine, peaceful day.
A great day, honestly.
Right. But today, you drink your coffee while scrolling through endless peak achievements on your phone. Suddenly, your peaceful Tuesday feels utterly boring and inadequate.
Because the extraordinary has been artificially normalized. When the extreme peak becomes your daily feed, a regular life feels like you're failing.
Which is tragic, because the source pushes a huge counter-narrative here.
Ah.
Normal life is fundamentally valuable.
Yes, you don't need to climb Mount Everest every day to be a confident human being.
Exactly. But this pressure to constantly appear successful online breeds an intense fear of the opposite. It breeds a terror of failing.
And that terror is the true dividing line. How we handle failure is what separates the confident from the insecure.
The failure divide. Let's dig deeply into this because the cognitive shift here is fascinating. The text notes that confident people view failure simply as a normal part of life. But insecure people view it as proof that they aren't good enough.
We need to examine what happens in the brain during a failure. The source deeply analyzes the shift between two very specific sentences. I made a mistake versus I am a mistake.
Oh, wow. Let me stop right there. Because I am a mistake is incredibly heavy.
It changes everything. Let's say an insecure person fails at a new business. Their internal narrative says, I am a mistake. That's an identity issue. It means they believe they are inherently defective.
So failure becomes a permanent tattoo on their identity.
Exactly. And therefore, they must avoid trying new things at all costs to protect themselves. But a confident person fails, and their narrative says, I made a mistake.
It's an event. It's a verb, not a noun.
Right. It's separated from their core identity, so they can analyze it objectively, figure out what went wrong, and try again.
Yeah.
That's why successful people actually fail often.
Because they just try new things. And trying anything new, inherently, requires an acceptance of failure. True confidence essentially acts like a tool that helps you recover from mistakes faster, rather than a magical shield that prevents them.
It's a shock absorber for life. But we have to ask, where does this intense fear of mistakes even originate? Because toddlers aren't afraid of failing when they learn to walk.
No, they fall down 100 times a day and just get back up. They don't feel an ounce of shame. So this terror is completely learned.
It is a conditioned response, and the text points a huge finger at the traditional school system.
Ah, yes, the education system. Think about it. You take a test, and if you make mistakes, you receive a lower grade, which is basically framed as a punishment.
The entire system penalizes errors heavily, so students quickly learn that the goal isn't to learn. The goal is to protect themselves from looking stupid.
They learn to fear looking stupid, rather than valuing the messy process of learning. And this brings in my absolute favorite metaphor from the source material, the language learning metaphor.
Yes, this is so perfect, especially for everyone listening right now, to practice their English.
Exactly. The rule in the text is, if you wait until your English becomes perfect before speaking, you may wait forever.
It is the absolute truth. If you demand perfection before you open your mouth, you guarantee that you will never improve.
Right. Improvement comes strictly through practice, not perfection. You have to be willing to use the wrong verb tense. You have to endure the discomfort of sounding like a beginner.
Because that willingness to make the mistake out loud is the only bridge to fluency.
And that applies to everything in life. But, okay, if school and our early environments teach us to fear failure so much, at what point in our timeline do we actually learn how to be confident?
Well, the text unpacks the developmental psychology of this. It notes that confidence often begins with supportive, accepting parents in childhood, but it often doesn't truly blossom until a person's 20s or 30s.
See, I found that so interesting. I would have guessed teenagers are the most confident. They're so bold and loud.
But that boldness is often a mask for agonizing vulnerability. The text focuses on the teenage years to explain this, analyzing something called the spotlight effect.
Oh, the spotlight effect. Even just hearing that phrase gives me high school anxiety.
Right. It's the psychological belief that a massive, invisible spotlight is shining directly on you at all times. Teenagers vastly overestimate how much other people are noticing their actions.
It's the absolute conviction that if you trip in the cafeteria, your life is destroyed.
Exactly. They believe one embarrassing moment will ruin their entire life. Every flaw feels catastrophic.
Even though, 5 years later, it is completely forgotten. I remember thinking about a weird thing I said for literally 3 years.
And the person you said it to probably forgot it 3 seconds later.
Right. And that leads to what I think is the most liberating sentence in the entire source text. Most people are too busy thinking about themselves.
It is the ultimate relief.
It is so deeply relaxing to grow older, hit your late 20s or 30s, and realize that nobody's paying attention to your flaws.
Because they are completely obsessed with their own. Everyone has their own spotlight pointed right at their own face. They don't have the mental bandwidth to critique your life.
That internal realization of not being watched constantly is beautiful. And the text explains how this internal shift eventually changes how a person physically occupies space in the world.
Yes, the physicality of calm energy. This is a crucial section. Body language directly impacts confidence.
Because we think of the mind and body as separate, but they aren't. The text notes that looking at the floor, rounding your shoulders, and speaking quietly projects massive insecurity.
But it doesn't just project it to others, it projects it to your own brain. The expert analysis here dives into the mind-body feedback loop.
Wait, explain that loop for the listeners.
Well, it's not just about tricking other people by standing up straight. Altering your posture and breathing actually sends physiological signals of safety to your brain.
So if you slouch, your brain thinks you're hiding from a threat.
Exactly. It keeps stress hormones high. But if you stand straight and take slow, calm breaths, you stimulate the vagus nerve. That sends an electrical signal to your brain, telling it to shut off the panic chemicals.
You are literally down-regulating your own nervous system.
Yes, slowing down your speech and breathing makes you actually feel more confident.
And a big part of that physicality is eye contact. The text brings up the importance of eye contact to create connection. But there is a very funny specific warning here.
Oh, I know exactly what you're going to say.
The text literally says, please don't stare into people's souls.
Yes, because there is a very fine line between confident presence and aggressive intimidation.
We've all met that person who read one body language book and decided to never blink again. It's terrifying.
Right, because biologically, staring without breaking contact is a primate threat display. Natural confidence involves looking away sometimes. It's relaxed.
And it's paired with a natural smile. The authors emphasize that calm energy feels safe. True confidence is magnetic because it doesn't demand anything from the people around it.
It allows everyone else's nervous system to relax.
Exactly. But let me throw a curveball from the text here. Let's say someone has mastered this calm energy in a boardroom. They are totally confident at work, but then they go to a party and completely lose it.
That happens all the time.
Right, so are they secretly insecure?
Not at all. And the source dismantles this myth perfectly. We tend to believe in the universally confident person. But confidence is contextual. It is highly situational.
The illusion of the monolith.
Yes. Expecting to feel equally confident in all areas of life is just a setup for failure. Humans are beautifully complicated.
The text uses a really relatable example. You might feel incredibly confident talking about a familiar topic, but if someone asks you to dance in public, that confidence vanishes entirely.
Because you are outside your domain of competence, and that's okay. We also have to recognize the valid differences between extroverted social confidence and introverted solitary confidence.
Right. An introvert might feel anxious at a huge party, but feel unshakable confidence when writing a complex line of code alone in their room. Both are valid.
Exactly. Real confidence is simply accepting your own personality constraints. It's not pretending to be someone else when you step outside your comfort zone.
So if you hate dancing, true confidence is just saying, I'm a terrible dancer, I'm going to sit this one out, and feeling absolutely zero shame about it.
Precisely. But how we navigate those moments of discomfort depends entirely on one crucial thing: the voice inside our own heads.
The inner monologue. This section of the text is so powerful because self-talk drastically affects confidence.
It is the invisible architect of our self-worth. And the sad truth is, people are often brutally hard on themselves.
The phrases we use internally are shocking. I'm terrible, I always fail, I'm so stupid.
The text introduces a brilliant thought experiment here. If you took all those negative thoughts and spoke them out loud to your best friends, what would happen?
Oh, the friendships would end immediately, by lunchtime.
Exactly. No one would tolerate that level of verbal abuse from a friend. But we subject our own brains to it daily. And that daily negative dialogue, chemically and psychologically, weakens your baseline confidence over time.
Because your brain believes the story you tell it most often. So we had to reframe that self-talk. But the source makes a very clear distinction between basic self-respect and toxic fake positivity.
Yes. Toxic positivity is pretending everything is perfect when it isn't. If you fail a test, looking in the mirror and shouting, "I am a flawless genius,"
Yeah.
is just a lie. Your brain knows it's a lie.
So what's the alternative? The text highlights the power of small linguistic shifts.
It's all about moving from fixed identity to growth. Instead of saying, "I'm horrible at this," you simply say, "I'm still learning. I'm still learning." That is so respectful. It doesn't deny reality, but it protects your self-worth. It frames the limitation as temporary. And ultimately, the way a person treats themselves internally almost always bleeds outward into how they treat the rest of the world.
Which brings us to the final section of our deep dives, the ultimate metric of confidence.
Kindness.
Kindness. It really is the ultimate proof, isn't it? The source states that truly confident people don't need to make others feel small.
Because of emotional maturity. Those who constantly insult others are seeking superiority to mask their own insecurity.
Right, it goes back to the empty cup versus the full cup.
Exactly. If a person's internal cup is empty, they feel like they have to steal worth from others by tearing them down.
Mm.
But when your cup is full, when you are confident, you operate from abundance.
You can uplift and support others without ever feeling threatened, because helping someone else doesn't subtract anything from your own value.
Confident people can be genuinely happy for others.
But I do have to point out an observation here. There is a massive conflict between this truth and the digital world we live in.
Oh, internet algorithms.
Yes. The internet heavily rewards negativity. Tearing people down goes viral. The algorithms incentivize toxicity.
It's true, there is a digital reward for being cruel.
But despite that, the source makes a profound final point. In real, everyday life, people remember kindness for a very long time.
True legacy is built on calm support, not loud insults.
People won't remember your viral tweet. They will remember how safe and valued you made them feel in a room.
That is the real power of true confidence.
What an incredible journey this has been today. We've completely redefined confidence as quiet comfort rather than loud perfection.
We learned how to survive the social media highlight reel by appreciating the normal Tuesday.
We reframed failure from "I am a mistake" to "I made a mistake." We talked about mastering self-talk with the phrase "I'm still learning."
And we realized the undeniable link between internal confidence and external kindness.
So before we wrap up this deep dive, I know you had a final, somewhat provocative thought for the listeners, something building on the text.
I do. If true confidence grows through learning from mistakes and self-acceptance, perhaps the most confident thing a person can do is intentionally seek out failure.
Wait, intentionally seek out? You want people to fail on purpose?
Yes. I challenge everyone listening to intentionally pick up a new hobby or a task that you know you will be absolutely terrible at.
Oh, I love this. Like taking a pottery class with no coordination or trying to learn the cello at 40.
Exactly. Just to practice exercising your failure muscle without judgment. Sit peacefully in your own incompetence. If you can do that, you build an internal armor nothing can pierce.
Practice your failure muscle. I think that is a brilliant way to end today's exploration.
Yeah.
We want to warmly thank you, the listener, for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes, thank you for spending your time with us and practicing your English along the way.
Now, we'd absolutely love to hear from you. Please leave a comment under the video sharing your opinion about today's topic. Have you ever experienced the spotlight effect?
We read all the comments, so please share. And also, suggest a new topic for future discussions. What should we dive into next?
If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and recommend the Coffee English podcast to a friend.
It really helps us grow the community.
Until next time, remember that you are still learning and enjoy your normal Tuesday.